gosh, we're back in a post-game show? Wow.
Feels like a winner's line.
It's been so long since we had a post-game show, you guys. Can't wait to talk about the Denver Nuggets. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets Podcast. It's not a winner's lounge. It's not a winner's lounge, not a loser's lounge. Guys, instant reaction. As we find out, the Denver Nuggets will be taking on the Miami Heat in their first ever NBA playoffs. Here to break it all down, I got the whole squad with me over there. Superstar Dev.
I just cannot believe that we're here. We're finally at the moment. Denver Nuggets are going to play basketball again, baby.
Thank God. Well, we're not at the moment, though, man.
Yo,
we're actually, you said that, but we got days.
Long time.
I didn't think about it like that.
You jumped the gun a little bit. Over here, I got D-Line Co.
Yo, it is nice to finally know who the Denver Nuggets will be playing in the NBA Finals in Denver, Colorado, where they will be the home court advantage holding team. Let's go.
The best. Oh man, there's so many things to get into. I got to save all my takes. And then over here, the happiest man in the entire world, and honestly, the most relieved man. Don't kid yourself. The most relieved.
More relieved.
Those two things go hand in hand.
Brendan Vogt, the ultimate Celtics hater / Jason Tatum hater. Brendan Vogt.
There goes college soccer.
What?
That's a town reference for those of you that are really on.
Wow.
Everything. No, that was actually a good joke. You guys just missed
Yeah,
it.
you know, it sounds like it was.
Yeah.
I've only
honestly.
watched it once this week. That's my problem.
Yeah, you're not like Joe
Gonna get it up to four. I might watch it
times.
tonight.
Those are
Unironically.
rookie numbers. I'm going to give you the floor first, man, because we're going to, obviously, in today's show, we're going to break down what we think about this matchup, kind of give some player-by-player matchups, who's going to be good in this series, who's not going to be good, or who's going to have a hard matchup. But I got to give you the floor, man. I got to let you cook. How does it, first of all, Heat up 3-0. You started going. I mean, you've been talking shit for a year and a half.
I have.
It's not like you've been couching yourself. But then they blow game 4. Then they blow game 5. Game 6 is ugly.
You know what? I started to get nervous, and then I remembered last year, they made it all the way to the finals, and I was still right. So there's no reason to back out in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I actually did think Miami was going to win this game.
Really?
I did, yeah. I did. It feels great. It feels great. It's mostly relief because now I get to actually just do my job and cover the Nuggets in the finals.
I'm actually excited to not hear you talk
Yeah,
about the Celtics.
yeah.
I've enjoyed the bit,
Yeah.
but I'm excited for it to go
Well, I was going to
back
have
in
to
the drawer.
not do the bit and be actually upset. But this is really good, man. This is some things are good versus evil, you know what I mean? And for it to not be the Lakers or the Celtics and for everyone to have to figure out how to cover this finals, this is good. Some people are going to tell you this is bad for basketball. They're wrong. This is great for basketball. It's a great day. It's a great day to be a fan of hoops. It's a great day to be a Nuggets fan.
I love this. And there's so many different layers. We'll spend this first part just kind of doing, I don't want to call it victory lap, but just kind of enjoying the moment. I got to say, D-Line, because Denver is the team that everybody's sad when they succeed or whatever, I'm so happy for a Heat Nuggets finals.
Yes.
I am so happy for how much it pisses off the coastal guys.
Yeah, well, just to start, Miami is on a coast.
I've never been. I had never been. So
They are on the East Coast.
Really?
Yeah, that's right.
On the water, yeah.
They are on the water.
Okay.
They are a glamour market. I don't know if you knew that
definitely
also.
a glam market.
There are going to be a lot of people shifting their big market focus onto southern Florida, which is going to feel terrible.
I don't know. There's one thing that you're not thinking about
Let's
here.
hear it.
It's Miami and Denver, two of the most boring teams in basketball. There's
Oh,
not going
so
to be much
boring.
for anybody to be able to talk about here. It's a
Only-
rough time.
If only
rough
there was
time.
something compelling about it.
You keep going. You were going to say something about this glam market, or
Yeah, well, I just mean, we are we're not completely it's not Denver versus Indiana,
Yeah.
or Denver versus Toronto or something. It is Denver versus now what will be everyone's adopted. I mean, everyone from New York ultimately goes to Miami to retire. So
Is that true?
Yes. Yes, if you live in Boston, which I have, if you live in New York, the people I met in Boston have been to two places. They have been to Boston and Miami, and literally nowhere else. I'm telling you, nowhere else. Going on road trips is not a thing in the East Coast.
Really?
It's not a thing. I met a lot of
that's
people.
such a great thing in life.
I know.
The road trip. I love the road trip, man.
Listen,
it's among my favorite things to do. Actually, is a road
it
trip.
is. It represents teenage freedom
It
and
is. You're right about
learning that the world is bigger than just a small little
Wanderlust.
corroded hole that you grew up in. But most people in Boston don't have that afforded to them.
Yeah.
They only see Boston. Anyway, so we're not. I'm going to be surprised if people actually are on the side of the Denver Nuggets. I think that there's just something inherent about the NBA and Miami that's like kind of like, like everybody talks about Miami and the NBA. So I love it, honestly. Like, we're going to continue to be underdogs in the minds of most people.
I love it. Another angle of this that is fun. The Nuggets took the last month of the season off. We all remember that, right? They went 7-10 to close the year, and there was a section of people, and I understood. I don't want to like laugh at these people because honestly, it was a real take to say, why isn't Denver concerned about home court advantage in the finals? Why are you only concerned about home court in the West? Turns out, doesn't effing matter. Denver has home court in the finals, despite having the 4th best record. It couldn't have broken better. Denver rested. They're healthy for the playoffs, which led them to more rest because they dominated the Western Conference. And now here they are getting to host home court as well. To this point, Dev, they've had their cake and they're about to eat it too.
Yeah, I mean, really, that's the biggest portion of, taking off that much time is you get to go into the playoff hunt healthy. Like, that was the difference between, the last couple of years is, are they going to win games? Yes, they did that. They also got first in the West. So you'll handle those things when you get there. But now it's just like, hey, they're going to take it all in. They're healthy. They're going against a team that's not as healthy because they had to fight and go through this, which, I mean, it's admirable for sure. But Denver got exactly what they wanted. And now those people, how they tried to rub it in and they were going to rub it in that way, I hope it gets rubbed right back in there. Honestly, I'm into those type of things.
I mean, big deal here. Denver getting home court advantage. I mean, that was part of the story is if they didn't get it and if Celtics would have won tonight, it would have felt like, damn.
It's a huge deal. I feel confident the Nuggets are better than the Celtics. Easy to say now, isn't it? I felt confident, but that the home court is the issue, especially because the biggest thing that changes, in my opinion, and probably objectively, from home court to home court is how the role players shoot. The Celtics like to hit a lot of threes. They need Al Horford, Derek White, the likes of those guys to hit their threes. Grant Williams, if he plays. Far more likely to happen in Boston, right? So that was my concern, was going in there, having the rest advantage, but losing the math game. I know it's our favorite word. Not a concern anymore.
Yeah.
Not a concern.
I'm also just happy for, again, because we complain a lot. We play this note a lot, and maybe we play it too much, but we play a lot of the, if you tell good stories throughout the year as a larger media contingent, then you're prepared for anything because you're prepared for whatever. But I like the story of this Miami Heat team because they're tough as nails, man. They are the only team in the playoffs. I mean this sincerely. The only team in the playoffs that are as tough as Denver. Denver out-tough. Part of what it was, they out-skilled, they outplayed, they out-connected. Their best players were better than the other team's best players. But they also were just tougher. And I feel like that's the one thing about the series that I look at and I go, no, man, Miami's not going to fold. They're not going to like fall down and give it to Denver. They're not going to get tired and not know how to play through fatigue. They're going to fight tooth or nail. And I kind of like that the two toughest teams are the ones that made it through.
Yeah, it's that toughness and also the adversity that they've had to overcome. A lot of times, Denver has went into these series as the underdog.
Yep.
They're into the series as they did not believe in us. These are two teams that no one believed in. This is, a Miami team that had to go into the play-in. They've lost people throughout the way. They have a guy in Jimmy Butler who everyone has doubted, but he has proven that he really is like that. So I love that it is two teams with a great head coaches, great players, great star. But all of it is we have to work for that.
Yeah. What else do you like about this matchup? Before we get into the individual parts of it, just the narrative parts, I should say.
Oh, well, as far as the narrative parts, I mean, a little bit. I mean, we touched on this earlier. A little bit of like the Heat coming from rags to riches story is pretty fabricated. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They were in the finals the year before that. They just took this year off completely. They did what people said Denver did.
Right.
They just had injuries. I am very surprised though that they were able to come back. Like the way the team is constructed, like it's just like it's like 8 of the same guy running out around there. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's just so many, the thing that's I suppose cool about the Miami Heat is like just the sheer number of undrafted players, like unknowns, that are put around like one of the bigger stars. He's able to, carry them. But, most of this series was not Jimmy Butler just like going ham. It was like Caleb Martin. It was like Gabe Vincent. It was like these guys who were like, you don't really Max Strus, like
Right.
Duncan Robinson.
Right.
These guys you like don't really know who they are, and for the same reason that I love that the NBA has to now learn who the Denver Nuggets are, I guarantee they have to learn who Max Strus is.
Yeah.
They have to learn who Duncan Robinson. They have to like learn who these guys are because they weren't focusing on them at all.
And these guys are all entering the finals feeling confident. You know, Duncan Robinson, who not that long ago was looking like it was going to be a long summer for him after being out of the rotation. Now he's back in. Everyone talked about those threes he missed, but he was 3 of 6 that night. He had some big shots in this series. Him, Strus, particularly Martin, of course, and Vincent. All of these guys are empowered and confident right now. So they're all guys you have to take seriously.
Here's another narrative I love about it. 2 of the longest tenured coaches in the NBA.
Yeah.
And Michael Malone, by the way, spoke about this today at Denver Nuggets media availability about, hey, and he's called back something we have alluded to before. He calls back to game 82 and even kind of referenced the fact that he thought maybe I'd get fired. Our goal was to make the playoffs. We didn't make the playoffs. We fell in the last moment in overtime in the final game. And he said Josh Kroenke put his arm around him and said,
"Get the hell out of here."
No, he said, man, look at how good our young guys, Jokic and Murray, look how good they were under pressure.
I'm saying.
What a successful season. Like, we didn't make the playoffs, but I like the vision. It's another narrative I like. There's continuity between both of these teams, to your point, and there is coaching staffs that the organization stuck through despite wins and losses and heartbreaks and this or that. The organization said, no, man, we're not one of those teams that just changes every time something happens. We changes. They stuck with it, and here we are being rewarded.
Get you an owner that has 5, 6, 7 teams to pay attention to. So like when they lose, they're like, it's looking great, and then they just focus on the Rams or whatever.
Yeah.
But like Mark
Are you
Cuban's
talking
like,
about the Mammoth who are currently
Yes.
one win away from the
Yes.
championship?
Yeah. But like you have like the ability to see the forest for the trees when it's not your sole focus in life. Like Mark Cuban, if that happens, he's like, "Oh, we got a clean house.
Yeah.
We had a goal. We didn't hit it. Or whatever."
yeah.
Like, yeah, I love it.
And then, Mickey Harrison, he's Carnival Cruise. So he only owns one team, but I think for a while I followed him on Twitter or something, like early days of Twitter. And that guy would be like every now and then Miami Heat, it was with LeBron and them, like winning trophies and stuff. And then every other picture was Bahamas. I'm in the Bahamas today. I'm in Jamaica. I was like, man, this guy has a life. He's just cruising at all
Shit
times.
to do. Wake me up when we're in the finals.
His bad weeks are when he's in Miami watching his basketball team win championships.
Yeah, he's
I
like,
can't relate. Oh, I kind of feel that way right now.
He's like, man, I wish I was on a water slide right now.
You mentioned, honestly,
So do I.
one thing about this series that I find funny, you talked about the names.
result?
First of all, people know Max Strus, man. He's been around for a while. It's a good point because of how, foreign he feels, or this or that, and all those guys. But the real name he should have gone to was Haywood Highsmith.
I didn't know that name. I was unable to go to that name.
Haywood Highsmith played real minutes for them in the series. And by
good.
the way, is going to be one of the players we talk about having to guard Jokic. They're guys, we're going to get to this in the next one, but it's Bam Adebayo, Kevin Love, and Haywood Highsmith. So even the guys who are going to have key jobs in this series are guys that even you didn't know about.
Those are names that are made up, I'm pretty sure. They have Zeller over there too, right?
They do have Zeller. He's below him.
They got some warriors to throw at them. Those are names. But really that also goes to show how incredible of a feat that they really have. If those are the guys that you have to go with over there with Miami. So it's good that they got there.
Heat culture versus we don't skip steps.
Oh, man.
It's awesome. It's actually awesome. I know there's a lot of jokes about Heat culture, but there's something to it.
Yeah.
This team exemplifies it in a lot of ways. And I know that the Heat actually largely messed around and weren't great in the regular season, but I think they were facing adversity. And ultimately, 2 teams built on continuity, culture, and knowing who they are and playing as a team are in the finals. It's such a beautiful result as we wondered how it would go here as we walked maybe away from the true super team era, right? The actual super teams. What would the league look like? This is so great. This is what people clamored for, at least the hardcore
Parity,
fans.
baby.
It's awesome.
What would you say that I hear Heat culture all the time. What are the cornerstones of Heat culture?
Oh, so here's one of the real ones. The accountability. Players, it's in the NBA. There's a lot of if you don't establish that early, and most don't, your players run the show. They tell you, no, I don't want to play tonight. Or they tell you, they come in a little overweight, and it's but I'm the star. Let me do this.
You talking about Kyle Lowry?
No, here's the thing about the Miami Heat. Allegedly, Pat Riley will literally grab a guy by the belly in training camp and stuff just to see how
Oh man,
how much weight he's carrying into the play. Like they'll shame you into like, hey man, you got to get rid of this.
It's basically just Riley.
You could also do that when you're like a Hall of Famer. Like
Yeah.
you know when you put in all the work to do that. Also, Eric Spoelstra's
Brad
worked
Stevens
himself,
not doing that.
from the backs of the
Right.
the video
stadiums
room,
and things like the video rooms, and then you get to this point. So they earn it in such a different way. And then also, you talk about the parity and things like that. These are two stars who are unselfish. Like Jimmy Butler just wants his guys to win. He's going to do anything to
very
win.
true.
Jokic is going to do anything to win. So you have that type of culture on both sides where you can, do those type of things.
Yeah,
That's a great point.
I think it's a great one. You have your ad reads ready to go. Probably not. Yeah, we got. I think it's going to be a really. I think it's a great matchup for Denver. We'll get into it next, but I do think that when you look at the 76ers, the Bucks, the Celtics, as great and as flawed as those teams clearly were, as we saw in this, I still feel like the Heat were the team that had the matchup that I just liked. I like when Jokic has somebody that he has had success with traditionally. I like when Murray has, a matchup that, he can be perceived as favorable, although it'll be a little bit harder for him. And Aaron Gordon. We're going to get to all of those guys and more and kind of go line by line and talk about pluses and minuses to the series in the next segment. But let's take our first break.
I called these guys after Game 6. They said this doesn't count, but I'm talking about Backus and Schenker, Colorado's secondary premier two-man game. No offense, but the Nuggets are in the finals, fellas. But you guys are up there. Backus and Schenker. They win for Colorado families, helping those who are seriously injured in Colorado for more than 25 years. Here's the deal. The large reason you probably haven't called a lawyer when you need to in a circumstance like this, there's two. You either can't remember their number or you're worried that you're not going to make money, and they're going to make money off of you. That's the thing about Backus and Schenker. They don't charge you until they win your case, and they do win cases. They've won over $1 billion for their clients, and also they have the easiest number in the history of podcast ad reads. Call Backus and Schenker at 222-2222 to find out if you have a case for free. Give them a call. Remember, they're not going to charge you until they've won you money. It's worth your time. Backus and Schenker, they win.
Oh, let's go.
You know what else is worth your time?
What's that?
Taking a little time to make sure that you're comfortable, attractive. What's the word I'm looking for? Manscaped before you leave the house. Summer's coming. Make sure that summer bod is ready. It's not just about doing push-ups, fellas. It's also about a little male maintenance. You know what I mean? The Performance Package 4.0. Also known...
Dude, if Pat Riley's going to be grabbing your belly, make sure it's hairless.
That's right.
That's
a
so
big
true.
part of heat culture
grabs your
is...
belly and
It's like, Jesus.
so hairy, dude. Manscaped.
I keep slipping.
Have you not know about heat culture? We
right.
manscape here, dude.
Heat culture is trimming your balls and using the Weed Whacker 2.0.
But it's also Nuggets culture.
You know when like your uncle has those thick, hairy nose hairs and
Yeah,
you see him
dude.
as a kid?
Yeah.
Like, that's gross. You should get the Weed Whacker.
I think I might be the uncle.
Yeah,
in this
I am now
situation.
too. That's the thing. Anyway.
But I do have the nose things, and it really helps.
I conversely, I remember my uncle was just smooth, just hairless and smooth. I was like, that's my uncle right there.
That was a memory I don't think we needed. But
Look at that uncle of mine.
All right, don't clip that. Get 20%
Back when I
off
used to
plus
really
free
caress
shipping
my uncle's
from the
chest.
man who brought you the stroking uncle. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code DNVR at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with code DNVR at manscaped.com. Having the right tools for grooming is essential. Do yourself and your man a favor. Upgrade your self-care.
All right, let's get into this matchup now for the Denver Nuggets. So, first off, you have to start with the big fella, Nikola Jokic. You have to start with him because everything starts there. You guys, I'm going to skid out in front of it. I'm really confident in the series in the Nuggets. I just love the matchup. I love the way Denver's playing, all of that stuff. My biggest fear is that I'm so confident. And it starts from the point of Bam is a great defender. He's one of the best defenders in the NBA. But I always say, guys like Bam, and this is true of even like the Draymond's. Draymond's an all-around defender. He's an all-time defender. I'm not trying to knock him. But these guys that are not true bigs, they're just big guys that can play the versatility of today's NBA. So much tinier than Jokic. And you notice it every time.
Yeah.
Jokic seems unbothered when he plays against Bam Adebayo. And as we mentioned earlier, they don't necessarily have, I mean, we'll see. Spoelstra's a great coach, but they don't have the pieces to be able to say we're going Twin Towers in this one. I mean, maybe it's Kevin Love with Bam roaming. Maybe it's Hightower. But to me, it doesn't seem that way. And I like it because I look at it and I go, I think Jokic has a phenomenal matchup and can beat the Heat in multiple ways individually, meaning he play his game in multiple ways. That's why I love this matchup.
It scares me how confident I am in that specific matchup. And that's the best matchup that they have going for them.
Yep.
He's their best defender, and that's a tough spot to be in because we've seen Jokic versus Gobert, generational defender. We've seen Jokic versus Anthony Davis, generational defender. We're now seeing him against Bam, very good defender. He destroyed the first two. What do you think he's going to do to this guy that's not a center? And also, he's going to have to be in help side a lot of times. He's also going to have to stay out of foul trouble. They have no backups behind him. He's lunch meat. This is going to be a rough spot for them. As hard as he's going to work, he can't overcome one of the best offensive players of all time with size.
Yup.
Rough.
Yeah, man. Like the Heat are, they have a little bit of a math problem. Like, are they going to have to double Jokic? And they probably are going to have to double Jokic, which is like, okay, Jamal Murray is now wide open. Michael Porter Jr. is now wide open. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is wide open. It puts them immediately behind the 8 ball, the Heat, with just the fact that Nikola Jokic is so much more dominant than any player that they've faced leading up to this. And they're going to have to, figure out, whether it's going to be zone, they're going to have to get creative. They're not just going to be able to go one-on-one. And if they do, Jokic is going to score 40 points a game minimum.
They were so good against the zone.
That's the big
just
part
because of how they're set up. They have a unselfish superstar with shooters all around them.
Yep.
That is a tough spot to be in.
Tough spot.
One of the best teams in the NBA versus the zone against an undersized team that really can't score a bunch of points.
To that point, Dev, our guy Matt Moore on Twitter, Denver Nuggets were the #1 offense versus the zone, both in the regular season and the playoffs and across the two combined. So that's, those are the early basketball reasons you start to get excited.
What's the follow-up tweet where he picks the Heat? Shit out there? No.
We love you, Matt. But that's the thing is we know a lot of things from regular season matchups don't carry over. I think both Heat and Nuggets fans know Bam cannot guard Jokic. The next thing they would like to do is zone, and that hasn't worked so far against the Nuggets. Malone and his staff, the team, they get from now until Thursday morning, I think, to prepare. And I would wager, fellas, that a lot of that preparation includes how are we going to attack a zone defense?
Yeah, there's no question about it. And the other thing about Bam is he's both good as a post defender. They're counting on him to be the, hey, go guard the other team's big and do a good enough job. But they're also asking him to plug up the paint and protect the rim and be this help side guy. And I just think both of those things, he's going to be in a pickle in this series. If he does somehow have success on Jokic inside, Denver's so good at moving now to the outside game, and now who's the next guy in there? But let's just go over some numbers here real quick. Jokic this season against Miami Heat, 24 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists, 9 of 14 shooting. Then the other game, this is last year. By the way, plus 17. And then 25 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists, triple-double, 10 of 14 shooting, 71%. By the way, plus 14.
And none of those are playoff Jokic numbers.
Those are not playoff. Those are regular Jokic. Then you go 27, 12, and 8. 12 of 14 shooting. Guys, that's 86% shooting he had in that game with a 27, 12, and 8 game. And then 19, 12, and 12, the triple-double on 8 of 15 shooting. He was off that night. He only shot 53%.
Man, that night sucked.
Plus 14, though, so again, it was kind of a dominant Jokic performance.
That's regular season Jokic, too.
Yeah.
Reading the court going, okay, I should shoot this one, as opposed to playoff Jokic who's going to go, I'm doing this until you switch it up, because that doesn't work.
It was also, to be fair, playoff or regular season Heat. And
that's a great
Spoelstra
point.
had a really good quote. I don't remember when it was about guarding. I think it was when they played about guarding Jokic, and he was like, it's a team we only see twice, so it's hard to do anything special for. And this is true when you play interconference games. It's usually just us. We run our base stuff, you run your base stuff, and you don't adjust. Nonetheless, the numbers are what they are, and he absolutely dominates that matchup. So do we feel, is there a case, again, we don't want to be just a homer podcast here. Is there a case where it's no, man, this matchup might actually, maybe this is harder for Jokic than people realize?
The fact that they have Spoelstra, that also does have to worry you. He's one of the best coaches in the entire NBA. He also sees those same type of things, so he is going to give them different looks. I don't know if they have the personnel to give him that, but I'm sure the plan has to be, as it is always, make someone else beat you.
Yeah.
Denver has the guys for that. That's what makes it.
I'll play devil's advocate here, D-Line. Tell me what you think of this. The thing they don't have, I don't think enough of. The other thing that causes Jokic problems is length. If you're able to have 4 guys guarding the passing lanes on Jokic, then he can turn it over, and it's just a little bit harder. But they don't necessarily have that. But what they do, when you said personnel, there's one thing they have. The other key to beating Jokic is, or to slowing him down, is multiple looks. Never give the same look. Like, try to change it up so that he's constantly having to guess. And I do think they have that. I don't know how effective any one thing they'll throw at him will be, but I do think they have a smart team, a disciplined team, and a team that has played a lot of different defensive styles, so they might be able to switch it up, not even quarter by quarter, but sometimes within a quarter.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to get creative. I also think that at a certain point, they're just going to be like, well, we're going to let Jokic, we're going to have to just go mano-a-mano, let Jokic score, try to shut down the three-point line, and then they themselves are going to have to just hope that they are hot as the sun from behind 3, which they have been, like, from time to time. It's not a great strategy because it's not sustainable generally, but you know, that is how they're going to be able to steal a game, if they are able to steal a game or two, is just through their outside shooting. I mean, our outside shooting is good. Theirs is great at times. It really depends on when you catch them. But if they get it into just, you know, one of those like those Warriors shooting matches, like, and then, you know, they're allowing Jokic to just sort of do his work, it becomes a little bit of what I came up with just now, a math problem. 3 more than 2.
And yeah, I mean, the Heat have this roster that maybe isn't conventionally talented in the way a contender always is. Or I don't know, maybe they just had a tough regular season. But it's not the most talented roster in the NBA. They do have championship DNA, though. They are made of the right stuff. And so that focus Denver's been talking about, that we've been talking about, that we've seen throughout the whole playoffs, let's be reasonable and fair, we've seen it. It has to be there. Like, if the Nuggets come out and they play this like it's anything less than the finals, which I'm not expecting, the Heat are for whatever they don't have, they're not just going to flounder anything.
Yeah,
they're not going to come out flat. They're going to come ready to play, ready to compete, especially coming out of that series where you got to feel like, you know, as good as the Nuggets are, like, we just got stabbed 1,000 times and we're still standing, you know, so bring it on.
Another thing is, I mean, this is a team that obviously relies on their defense and their defense ability. In the regular season, they were 13-43 when they allowed 111 or more points. So they almost like they gave up 111 points. They almost never won. This is one of my things with Denver. Denver, not a great defensive team in the regular season. In the postseason has been good enough. They've been very impressive in that they could get stops when they needed, and they've been versatile enough to guard a lot of different types of teams. But the thing is nobody can stop Denver. And Denver, when they're locked in and playing the way they do, they're scoring high numbers. So I just look at this and I go, Denver can have a off night offensively and get 108. 109. Yep. And I just look at this and I go, Miami, that's where I think they're going to have a hard time, is I just think Jokic's going to generate good looks for them, for Denver. And I think Miami you saw tonight, man, it was a grind for them to score.
I'm doing my best to be, as we all are, measured in this. I don't want to be clipped and memed and, you know, should things go the wrong way. Like, I don't see it. Like, I don't see how the Heat have a path here. Like, I really don't. Like, obviously, the game is played by human beings, so everything is fallible. You know, it's not just matchup dependent. Like, anything can happen, really. Like when the ball is tipped off. But man, just on paper, it's the thing is it's so simple. It's like the way that Harrison Wind was able to break down last series with just a single sentence. Like, who's guarding Jokic? Like, what is the answer for Nikola Jokic? Like, Nikola Jokic is so dominant at this stage in his career and his development that it is you can look just at him being part of this series and be like, well, that's the analysis. There it is, right there.
And the difference, like, Jimmy Butler has also been, I mean, Jokic and Jimmy Butler probably the 2 best players in the playoffs, you know, so far. But Jimmy, it's almost been more spectacular. You know, he's had some spectacular moments, stepped up big. Jokic has also had spectacular moments, stepped up big. The difference is, in cruise control, he's the best player on the court. You know, he's just been the best player every quarter, and then he's awesome when it's needed. So I think there's that. Here's another, let's go to Aaron Gordon, though, because I actually think this is the second reason I'm most important. Before we get to the Murray parts of this, where I think there are some compelling defensive assignments and this or that, if you're not big enough to be able to put that second defender where he's roaming, then okay, then you're guarding him straight up. But now Aaron Gordon beats guys who are undersized. If you have a power forward that is not, an enormous
Kevin
guy,
Love, baby.
and that's what I look at it. And look, they might be able to put a Kevin Love out there at times. They're going to be able to throw some guys out there that make the, guard the perimeter or this or that. But if you're talking about Jimmy Butler and Caleb Martin being your four, Caleb Martin, who's, by the way, I think the highest plus minus in the NBA in the playoffs, he's been so valuable to him.
Yeah, he's been great.
If he has to guard Aaron Gordon, he's given up so much strength.
And it's not even just the strength, because Caleb Martin has been incredible. He won them that game today.
He's their Bruce Brown, man. I love his game.
But on the defensive end, he's given up strength. He's 6'5", 205 pounds. This is a guy that just battled with a center, LeBron James, Kevin Durant,
Who put his forearm into his throat.
And now he's going after Caleb Martin with an advantage. This is the first time that he truly has an advantage.
That's it.
In a play. That has to feel good for him, not to just work extremely hard the entire time. Also, this is the first time that he can just straight up play a guy, defense, not just help side the entire time, not with help side behind him the entire time. And that's been a big part of the Heat's offense, is how good Caleb Martin has stepped up in the playoffs. Now he's going into a final series, his first one ever, against Aaron Gordon. Finally an advantage. I love it.
But so Aaron Gordon's probably guarding Jimmy, right?
I think that's probably
That's
the
probably-
KCP
sense.
could.
No. I would say Jimmy.
Who do we think guards Caleb Martin?
Aaron Gordon.
Who do we think guards Caleb Martin?
Maybe that's KCP. Honestly, here's the thing: Caleb Martin is KCP's size.
That's
Yes.
the thing.
That's the
That's
same.
kinda
What
where
is
I
what
was-
did you say? 205?
6'5", 205.
Look up KCP real quick, because I'll bet you it's the exact same height weight, which is crazy.
It is wild.
Yeah, Dev made a great point about AG, though, who I think has had to do a lot of heavy lifting for 3 rounds, dirty work. But he's played in the mud, right? And I think this might be a series where he gets to play in the air a little bit more, feast in the dunker spot, just be too strong, too
agreed.
big. The biggest guy on the floor is Bam. He's likely going to be, to some extent, preoccupied by Jokic, whether he's on him or not. And it should be AG should get to play in the air and not the mud in this series, and that's big time, man. And that I'm happy for him, because I think he's had to do a lot of the ultimately thankless but difficult work.
I think that you're wrong about Caleb Martin. He's bigger than KCP by a pound.
By 1 pound?
A pound.
Adam sucked at
Man,
this
I was
job.
so far off, man. I was way
sorry.
off on this one. I
Same
apologize.
exact size.
But do Bam Adebayo now, because I think Aaron Gordon is closer to Bam Adebayo than he is to any of these other guys. Which the point again is,
Aaron Gordon is stronger than Bam Adebayo, than their center.
I mean, maybe equal. I'll call them equal or something, but maybe not. But my point is that you're talking about the ability. Like if you said, if you were talking about KCP has to guard Bam in the series, we'd be like, I don't know, man, that's a huge mismatch. But that's essentially what you're getting at if you say a Caleb Martin is going to have to be on him. So I think this is a huge series for Aaron Gordon. Yes, it's going to be a challenge guarding Jimmy Butler defensively, although I'll say this. I actually think he's the type of player Aaron Gordon is best at. Not necessarily a quick burst.
Yeah, not fast.
Not a super fast. Not like the pull-up guy that can get him off balance and get the pull-ups like a Devin Booker. He's a guy that's going to use his footwork, his strength, his craftiness. And Aaron Gordon is just really smart against craft.
Yeah, it's similar
take.
to Kawhi in that way.
Yep. That's why he guards him well.
Right, like, I mean, their games are not identical. Obviously, like...
Kawhi's better.
Kawhi is better, but... You're able to
Less
see,
of a winner, though.
like the quickness, it's ISO, but it's not blow by. It's just like I mean, you're right. That's a great point.
Adebayo 6'9", 250.
What's Aaron Gordon?
It's about the same size.
6'9", 250 about? I'll bet he's only like 235 or so, 230.
And
These
his
guys are-
changed on Bam. His was at like 240, went up to 250.
Yeah.
I'm sure playing weight is 240.
Yeah, but they're going to be close, man. They're not going to be that far off. Any final thoughts on Aaron Gordon's matchup in this one?
1 inch difference. Aaron Gordon's got a great. I mean,
I would love for him to have a great series.
The thing about the Nuggets, just sort of in general, is that they are just so much bigger than the Heat everywhere.
Yeah.
Center. I mean, the front court is where it shines the most. It's just we got Aaron Gordon and we've got Nikola Jokic. Those two guys alone could just absolutely carve out so much room in the paint.
6'11" too.
Yeah, and then you're not even thinking about guys like MPJ, who's much bigger than any other.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
So we love the front court matchup. We think that one will be a solid one. Do you have
Aaron
some?
Gordon 6'8", 235. So if you really look at at this, he's exact. He's the same size as Bam.
He's
Bam's
closer,
going to
Bam.
have to go into this like a prize fight
Yeah.
where he has to just pick up as much weight as possible
Between
to be able
now
to
and
guard Jokic in these 2 days, and then hope that it doesn't mess up with like his agility and running and stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing too is Aaron Gordon has had a training camp to rest here, and Jimmy Gordon, was just Leonidas in the 300. The guy's ready to go to bed for a month. So there's a lot to that too. I mean, the rest advantage is absolutely huge here. There's no two ways about it. So
right.
I just want to say really quickly, I have a lot of respect for the Heat. This isn't 8 seed. It's a cakewalk. These guys stink. I'm excited for basketball reasons. This matchup I think favors Denver.
Yeah, we're not like the Nuggets are going to get to the finals to lose to Miami.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Sometimes it's just matchups, man. Like, honestly,
yeah.
and even like Milwaukee is a good team. They weren't as bad. It was a tough matchup for him in part. I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses for Milwaukee. I have no affinity for him. But sometimes basketball really is, do you get a good matchup? And this was one that I at least identified early on as a good matchup for Denver. All right, let's take a break. Let's get to the backcourt, which I think is a lot tougher for Denver. But there's still some interesting ones there.
You want to talk about a good matchup? Match your friends, your burritos, your beer. Match it all up. Mash up, whatever. Go to Illegal Pete's.
Man,
It's
you
the best
nailed
spot
that.
for Buddy's burritos
Booyah.
and beer. And it's patio season, which is, every Denverite knows, pretty much the best season in Denver, unless you're super into skiing or whatever, Kale. But I personally...
So lame, dude.
Yeah. I'm into patio season myself. A lot less work, just as much beer. So find the nearest Illegal Pete's and head out to their patio to enjoy a bucket of beer or some margaritas.
No, if you happen to be in the vicinity of the DNVR bar and you find yourself walking down Colfax to Illegal Pete's, you will walk by the brand new mural of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. It's directly halfway in between Illegal Pete's and DNVR.
So
that
true.
can't be
So
that
fun.
cannot be a coincidence.
That's a good point.
The mural?
Yeah. We'll go with I like your narrative better.
You don't pass Illegal Pete's to go to the...
We'll talk about it after the
whatever.
show. Breckenridge
Kale's a
Brewery is
correct
the
guy.
official beer
He's
of
a correct you guy, the worst kind of guy.
Breckenridge Brewery is the official beer of DNVR. The Mile High City Golden Ale is it's an official Denver Nuggets themed beer. Check it out. You can see a little logo there in your bottom left corner. It is a brand new taste with a retro look, sleek design on that can and case. Might be the kind of thing that after you drink it, you keep it just as a fun piece of wall art for the man or woman cave. Come to the DNVR bar.
The Nuggets have never not made the finals since this beer existed.
That's a great point.
I know, right?
I'm not saying it's because of the beer, but
Dude,
I can't prove it's not.
Yeah, dude, say it's not. Say it's not.
Prove it to me.
Prove it's not.
Come to the DNVR bar to try every delicious Breck brew, or just check out the Breck beer locator, find out the nearest location. Pretty convenient, pretty neat. We love Breck.
Alrighty, let's move on now to the backcourt and let's go to Jamal Murray.
Bingo.
Bango.
Man.
Jamal Murray in this matchup. I'll start with you, Vogt. What?
I kind of think it's a lot like the AG. I don't want to just say this about every matchup. It's the finals, but think about Alexander Walker and the work he did to make Jamal's life very difficult. You could say the same thing about the way Phoenix, not necessarily the defenders, but the strategy, right, of making him bring the ball up the court, dogged the entire time. I think Schroeder did a good job in the Lakers series. Obviously, Jamal was transcendent, but they had an option they liked. The Heat don't necessarily have that guy, right? Where you're like, he's just going to follow Jamal around for 4 quarters, the entire length of the court, and make his life hell. They might try to do it anyway, but I don't think they're better equipped to do it than the teams that Denver's already gone through. So I do wonder if this is another dynamic where, for Jamal, maybe this is not as arduous as some of the past matchups were.
Yeah.
Is that crazy?
No, well, and I'll throw this to you guys, but one of the things, I think that in the Murray doing what he does on offense, maybe they stick Jimmy Butler on him in the clutch, which I think is a tough guy for him to go against because Murray is not strong. Usually Murray's big. He's 6'5". He has a size advantage against a lot of guys. He gets to go to the post. I think that's going to be tough for him in the clutch moments. But I think I like the matchup, obviously, with like Strus and Vincent and some of the other guys they'll throw at him.
Yeah.
But, Dev, they do run those guys around a lot. And I do think that this will be an exhausting series for Murray, or has a chance to be, just because defensively, it's not that he has to guard anybody hard, but there's probably just a lot of switching and running and running around guys and different things like that.
I think so too, and I would be worried about it if I didn't see like Bruce Brown step out on Kevin Durant a lot. Jamal Murray have to step out on LeBron. Denver does a great job of making those type of switches where you're not having to exert yourself that much on defense as much. Also, this is why I loved the fact that Miami won this game instead of the Celtics. That was the one.
Marcus Smart.
But that was just tough. Yeah, you have Marcus Smart and Derek White, who are incredible defenders that are going to be able to slow down Jamal. He's going to have to work every single time. Because he just talked about Nickeil Alexander-Walker. That's making him work, and guys like those. They're not. He's not the defender as Marcus Smart and Derek White, especially with that size.
Right.
Now he's going against a guy that's 6'2", 200 pounds. And he's a guy that likes to get on the post. He likes to use his advantage with his footwork. He likes to, hunt at mismatch. I feel like there's a lot of them. Miami really is just very small. Denver has the size advantage. And then a guy who he's been going nuclear in the playoffs. He's a guy that scores every single time down. He loves these type of situations. This is another favorable matchup.
Does it scare you at all, the Jimmy Butler in the clutch? Because Denver in the clutch is such a big thing, but that's a great defender. Or just the that he's going to have to chase guys around. Do either of those not scare you, but just like, hey, that's going to be a real challenge?
Right.
I feel like if we're talking about Jimmy Butler specifically, like he's going to get his for sure. Like it doesn't really matter who's on him.
I mean more guarding Murray in the clutch.
Guarding Murray, the thing that I love is that, like, I think that Dev was saying this. I was too busy. I was lost in the comments a little bit, but like, the style of defense is going to be different than what we saw the other teams give to Jamal that wore him down. Like wearing Jamal down by guarding him the full court is what we saw be most effective, but I don't really see somebody on the Heat that has that.
I agree.
Like Jimmy is a tenacious defender. He's crafty. He'll poke the ball out. He'll do a lot of things that are just clever, but they don't like grind you down and just make you run and frankly, like they're not coming off of this series and their entire post-season run, like they're not really in a position to be playing the energy game anyway. Like they're going to want to be conserving as much energy as possible. So, I'm like Dev said, like I don't know, every time we come, like every matchup I'm looking at, I'm like, I like that for Denver too. I don't know.
I think that point on the other end of the floor about him having to chase screens is salient. I think it's a good point. But I think this is where the rest advantage matters more than anywhere else in this matchup between these two teams. Jamal Murray has been tremendous in these playoffs. He has also looked exhausted.
Yeah.
And I think game one, coming off of that series, like Eric just said, I think the Nuggets, including Murray, are in a better place in terms of how much is left in the tank. It'll be a long series. Maybe that changes. I think your point about chasing the screens is good, though. It's good kind of point.
Just to stick on that point, one thing that I question, and I mean, we're going to see here shortly, but does Miami want to try to push the pace? Because I mean, I feel like if you get them set, then it's Jokic that gets to just go off. He gets to go against guys that are undersized and then just operate. If you do that, where you're trying to push the pace, now you get Jamal like in the open court. You get the ball popping, and they don't have the size either way to like match up with them. So I don't think that they push towards that as much as we believe that they will, just because it pushes a pace. And we've seen that's not a team that likes to score a lot. And that's also what's different from the other teams that Denver has played. On misses, guys have ran out. Denver has, gotten punished with that. Miami doesn't have that type of pace to their game, so they get to have a set offense every single time where even those screens don't matter as much.
They're the second slowest team in the NBA. Denver's 24th. They're 29th in pace. Fast break points, they're 29th. No, they're 28th. So, yeah, that's just not a big part of this game. I do think for that reason, the numbers in the series might be a little bit below what we think. The under might hit a little bit more because these are two teams that want to play as slow as possible and really grind it out in the half court. But again, like, there's a couple things I just believe about this Nuggets team, and one of them is that they're the best at their style. You know what I mean? So if you also play that style, it's like, hey, I don't know, man. Like this.
I think Denver is better suited to play at either speed. They can go slow with Jokic, but I think they're also a better running team. Again, Eric made this point early in the show. You play these series for a reason. And I think a lot of teams on this Miami Heat run have looked at Miami and also liked their matchup on paper. So I'm not saying this is over in 4 games, you know. But I do think I think Denver can play slow through Jokic. They know how to do it, and I also think they're better at getting out and running. Turnovers are going to be they always are, but protecting the ball, which allows you to dictate a little more when the pace is where it is. You just want Denver to be in control and dictating, and I think they have a good chance to do it, especially with home court, which again is a huge deal.
Let's go to Michael Porter Jr. We'll do KCP last. He's an interesting one because offensively he's going to have a height advantage a lot. They have a bunch of guys that play like, when you were saying a bunch of guys that are the same guy, honestly, they're like Michael Porter Jr. I mean, Duncan Robinson is like Michael Porter Jr. in that they use him as his floor spacer. He's got a quick trigger. He's tall. And honestly, we all love Michael Porter Jr. Duncan Robinson at his peak, what shoots like Michael Porter. He'd been in a slump for most of this year, but he's a hell of a shooter. That being said, on the boards.
Yeah, he can't drive. He can't board.
Who?
Duncan Robinson, the same way.
But for me, I just like Porter. I think he's going to get his shots especially if they go zone. I think Porter's going to get a lot of clean looks in the series. And then on the other end, I don't know that he's going to be a guy that gets targeted a whole lot. I mean, he hasn't to this point, and I don't think this is a team that has the pieces to do it. So I don't know if this is a great series for Michael Porter, but I certainly think it's a good one.
I think this is a perfect setup for Michael Porter Jr. on offense and defense. Offensively, they're going to have to set that zone. He's going to be able to just find his spot and shoot it. And he's shooting it at a high clip right now. So he has that advantage there. Also with guys, he's going to be the guy that I don't feel like they're keying in as much just because they have so many other mismatches where he's the forgotten guy. But then on defense, this is a series where even if you try to hunt him, he's so tall. He uses his length. They do the 10 pump fakes every single time, and he has learned to stay honest on defense where he can use that as his advantage. So I love him in this series, and I think that this is going to be a very high series for him.
Yeah.
Now that we're going down it, they just look better in every single spot. Like, everyone looks good right now, just based off of how they're matching up.
Yeah, to me, there's definitely going to be times like we were hitting on earlier where they're going to decide to double Jokic, and MPJ's going to be open. We saw it the last series also. Like, MPJ was not lacking in wide open shots. It just comes down to, is he going to hit them? This is a guy whose confidence has been growing and growing and growing and growing, and he's now very poised, and he's ready for this. Like, earlier on in his career, had this happened, I don't think Michael Porter Jr. would have been a guy that you would be looking as a weapon. You'd be looking at him a little bit as a liability on the other side, more so than his offensive skill. But, that's all gone. Like, really, he's now playing in his body in such a way that his physical attributes are now all attributes. There's nothing like, oh, man, he's stiff. He's a little gangly. You can get by him. He's going to be the mark. They're going to try and target him like we saw other people do in years past. It's like all that's gone. And like we just said a little bit, like comparing him to like a Duncan Robinson, Michael Porter Jr. has shown a real propensity for driving the lane, making tough finishes, dunking the ball over Jokic sometimes. Like, He's got much more of a complete game than maybe people realize he's had, and it's just like this is his time.
Who do we think his primary matchup is? Who do we think?
It's hard to think about who they're going to start because I think they might mix it up a little bit with who they go.
I do too.
Obviously starting Caleb Martin was a big adjustment for them. They played him a lot of minutes, but they didn't always start him. I don't expect him to start now. Probably will be like the Duncan Robinson.
That's what I mean. Off-ball defensive discipline, right? Just being locked in, really quick on those contests. But, the sneaky thing about Mike is he has a really good margin for error when getting back and contesting shots because he's so long, right? The same thing he can shoot over Duncan. It is difficult for Duncan to shoot over him. Great shooter, by the way. And I think Duncan's feeling confident. So he actually is one of those guys that could swing a quarter or a half there for sure. But, if they go zone, KCP and Mike just have to be ready, They have to be ready. And I think they've mostly, both of them, shot really well from deep throughout the postseason. I would expect them to again in the finals. But it's part of the reason why it's so difficult to just try those things against Denver. They don't get as many threes up as some of these teams, but they can shoot with the best of them. And it's KCP and Mike are the reason why.
Yeah, I think their record when allowing 13 or more three-pointers here, I'm looking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, so they're a little bit below 500, 20 and 26 when they allow 13 or more threes. But for a team in the finals, that's a good indicator of, hey, make some shots. And of course, Mike is the one. I said I don't think that they can keep up with Denver scoring if Denver can score. Mike is the one that breaks everything.
Oh,
because
yeah.
when he hits 3 threes in a quarter, it's like, well, now Denver's up 10, and you have to start catching up. And I think there will be opportunity for him. But I love your point about game plan discipline, because I do think the Heat are among the more difficult teams to keep an eye on off ball.
Yes.
They're one of the easier teams, I think, on ball, like, because they don't have that many guys, but they do run a lot of actions, and the switches are going to have to be on point. The communication is going to have to be on point. And that's an area where Mike in the past has struggled. I think he's been great in these playoffs, but in the past, that has been a weakness for him. And then lastly, to round up the starting lineup, we have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, going for his second championship.
I love this guy.
Well, so what is it? I mean, his matchup, I don't know that he necessarily has like a primary matchup. Like, he has to shut that guy down.
It might be Caleb. Might be Caleb.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he was so good today. It's just weird to say that's what he needs to go up against, but you're right.
I mean, he's scoring right
What
now.
does he do in this series?
I mean, if he's able to slow down Caleb, how much offense do they really have? Also, he's been such a primary defender that now he gets to make that shift on Jimmy Butler. You're going to give him different looks.
Right.
You're going to give him size with Aaron Gordon, I feel. You're going to also have KCP, who, gives him size, physicality, can maneuver through screens, and you just get to bottle guys up.
Yep.
Also, Denver needs his threes to, remain.
Not problem.
Because it has been up and down throughout the year, but he does step up in the times that you need him, Mr. Right on time. So if he can, get himself going offensively, you already know his defense is going to remain there. And also, he has been to this point.
Exactly.
No other Nugget has been to this point right here.
I was just going to say
he
that.
brings that to the table, where you can be calm, and he has some familiarity there.
That's massive. That's massive. Like, there's so much about this. You watch these two teams that are just absolutely slugging it out. Obviously the pressure couldn't be any higher. People are just missing shots. It's just different. It's different. And KCP has been there. There's something so valuable about just having a calming force like KCP in your foxhole. A guy that can, has shown that he can step up in the biggest moments, knock down shots. His threes are going to be massive. I mean, all of our shooters, their shooting is going to be required, like, full stop, to get past this Heat. The Heat are going to want to play this style of game. The Nuggets are going to find themselves in positions at time where they have to keep pace with a Heat team that's just going off. And a guy like KCP is just full X factor when it comes to what we can expect the Nuggets at their highest point.
Yeah, I'm excited for him, and he's another one just like MPJ who gets threes in bunches. And if you just get a little Porter quarter, Murray flurry, and a KCP spree,
holy smokes!
Like the games will be out of reach.
And a
So
Jokic bludgeoning.
Those guys hopefully are well rested but not rusty. Excited for a home crowd. Excited. I mean, game one, like the emotions and stuff of it are going to be so intense that I wouldn't be surprised if we had a couple of air balls early.
Jamal could score 35 and also break the backboard with his first shot.
I know.
There's going to be like
straight through.
Yeah.
There's definitely going to be an air ball in the first quarter. Maybe multiple air balls.
Mike's gonna miss by 3 feet.
Yeah, like too far. Just go
also,
over.
Nathaniel Rateliff is going to miss the opening ceremonial shot by 5 feet minimum.
All right, let's take a break. Then we're going to get to the benches here and talk about some of the depth as well.
Well, if you're headed to Miami for any reason, let's see, I don't know, like to watch or cover the Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals, you might find that life gets real bright down there, messes with your eyes sometimes.
Sure.
Hook yourself up with some Shady Rays, an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product just as good as any expensive pair you're going to wear, except they're better than the expensive pairs because A, they're cheaper, and B, if you lose them, you break them, or even if you just don't like them, you can exchange for a new pair, return them free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop with Shady Rays. It's awesome. Their team always has your back. This is really important to me. I lose everything. I can go out and come home without the shoes that I left the house with.
Does Shady Rays sell a man purse?
Shady Rays has actually recently told me, like, hey, man, we don't usually do this, but there might be a limit for you on how many pairs we... but you guys should be fine. So our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com, use code DNVR. That's 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
There you go. All right, let's go to the benches here. Bruce Brown, I think, will have a big impact on this series. I mean, he'll be an important one. The energy, the defense. I don't know that it's necessarily like a great series specifically for him, but I do think that it's one that he doesn't have it's not a weakness. Like, he should be able to have the same impact he's had in this series. Any notes on him, D-Line?
Say again, I'm sorry.
The Bruce
oh,
CB.
dude. I mean, Bruce Brown plays the exact type of game to match up with this Miami Heat squad. Like, grinding, physical, back against the wall, nothing's working, just like give it to Bruce, he'll figure something out. He's gritty, he's just like, he is the exact guy that you want on your squad to go up against a team that plays this way. It's man, you just look at, there's so many things that have just broken in the Nuggets' favor. Signing a KCP or trading for a KCP, signing a Bruce Brown, and then all of these guys are just perfectly suited for the scenario that was laid out in front of the Nuggets afterwards. So, I mean, Bruce Brown has been probably the X factor of the entire playoffs. He's probably been like the guy that has given the Nuggets the most when they needed it the most. Like, everybody else has played great, but like, they were setting the tone. And Bruce Brown has come out when nothing was working, just drove the lane, made incredibly tough finishes, and just made it clear to whoever it is that the Nuggets were matching up that, it's not sweet here tonight. Like, you're gonna have to body up. Like, we're gonna go for it. So, I mean, like, this is the grinded out series. Like, yes, Bruce Brown all the way.
I think Bruce Brown is going to be pivotal in this matchup, specifically because he gets to be himself. He gets to just come in and shake things up.
Yep.
There's going to be a lot of staggering, I feel like. And he's going to be the guy that says, no, it does not matter that this is the second unit. We're going to match you every single time. I feel like he has those advantages against like a Kyle Lowry, when they put those in. And he can be physical with a guy like that. He can use his speed against, that their type of running. They don't really have the pace. They don't. And I don't think that they're going to try to match him. But also, like, the biggest thing for him is I feel like he brings the physicality. He brings that dog to the team, where Miami is a team that's full of not
dogs.
quitting, not giving up, competing every single time down. He gets to match that, and I think that is like his calling in this type of series.
And then Jeff Green, Christian Brown. This could be a Christian Brown series. I mean, because I think defense is going to be key. Like I said, I think Denver's going to be able to score in this one. This one is one where I feel like he actually could get some minutes in it because they need guys to be able to guard. Like, one thing he does well is he's locked in defensively. He knows how to make reads off ball, fight through screens. Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, like, those are guys that I think Kyle Lowry he could be useful against.
What about
them.
Off the bench? If Tyler Hero could very well play in this series.
That's right.
Was trending towards a return in this.
That's right.
And this series almost won 8 games too, which is crazy. So he could have played, but so I expect him to play in the finals. So maybe that's a Christian Brown matchup right off the bench, right? Where it's, hey, that's your score, that's their scorer off the bench. You're our stopper off the bench.
Hey, Tyler Hero is an X factor, though. I mean, because he is a guy, like, look, they made it here without him, but he is a guy that, one, there's no scout on. Right? The team that they've gotten here on, so everything you're scouting doesn't factor him in. He becomes a bit of an X factor. And then the number one thing I think is that they can't score with Denver. That's why I feel confident. But he's a Michael Porter-esque player where it's like, hey, he could just be hot that night and go 7 of 10.
Right.
Like, he's the sixth man of the year. Not this, last year, right? Like, he won 6, whatever, all the same. Like, I would say that's an impact player. Like, it sounds like the soonest they would get him back would be game 3.
Really?
Yeah. That's what they were saying. So, but you're right. I mean, a guy like Christian Brown would match up like very well, height-wise, length-wise, and just the ability. Like, the best thing about Christian is that he never leaves his feet. Like, he never goes for the pump fake. He always stays grounded, and just like getting in a guy like that's face and just be like in his zone, so he's not able to get wide open shots, because that's always where Tyler Hero is the most dangerous.
Jeff Green, is this a Jeff Green series?
Well, he's going to play, and it can be, man. I wanted to circle back, and there's a lot Jeff can't and hasn't done in some of these games, but timely contributions, the charge he drew, the corner 3, just stuff that, like, that's where the veteran stuff manifests. That's why guys on the roster trust Jeff. So I think maybe even less so than other series too. Am I going to sit here and bemoan the Jeff Green minutes? Like, I think they can survive. Is he playing hard? Is he grabbing let's call it 3 rebounds. I'd take it. I'd love it. A charge here and there. He can still have an impact, So I'm not expecting big things from Jeff. He's been the weak link or the 7th weak link in this rotation. But again, they have won all of these games with him playing. And I think they can do it again in the finals. This is a guy who has waited a very long time for this opportunity. What did Vlatko tell us? He knows where he's at in his career. He hates to lose. He wants to win this thing. So I expect whatever effort he's got left in the tank to be left on the floor.
Is this a Kevin Love series?
Probably.
So they're going to play Bam Adebayo and they're going to play Hightower because they have to. They have to play bigs, but maybe Kevin Love takes a stab?
I think he for sure does, just because of the size, the rebounding advantage that I feel like Denver will have. You have to match that. Also, I think there's going to be a lot of foul trouble for Bam. So he is going to have to, get those type of minutes. Going down their roster, I mean, he's also undersized at 6'8", but just going down their roster, they don't have many, big guys, tall guys. Cody Zeller is like their biggest guy. He can't, hold them. So I think that they're going to give different looks. And also they will need scoring. And Kevin Love spaces the floor. He can shoot it. You're not going to be able to just pack the paint like I feel like Denver will try to do against a Bam and a Butler.
Yeah. No, they need as much size as they can get. Like they have to play all of their players with size. I'm sure we'll see Cody Zeller. I'm sure we'll see Kevin Love. I'm sure they're gonna. They just that was the one thing I was struck by most watching this Game 7 is just like how much smaller both of those teams were than the Denver Nuggets. They just look visually smaller. Like it never really dawned on me how big the Nuggets were until we started to make this playoff run. Like most of the teams in the West are just bigger than teams in the East. For whatever reason, it just seems to be the case.
Celtics maybe could have had some guys they could have brought in to play big, but it doesn't matter. They're out. I want to wrap up now. We're going to be doing more of a deep dive tomorrow. We'll have Harrison Wind on the show as well. So we'll continue to talk the series. There'll be practice availabilities tomorrow. I think we might even get Miami Heat availability. And then just to preview the week, Wednesday is the big one, media day. A lot of media is going to be arriving in the next 36 hours. They'll probably all be coming in Wednesday morning, or most of them late Tuesday night, Wednesday. And obviously we're hoping to get a handful of people through this show and onto the DNVR bar, so we'll get to hear a lot of perspective. But Wednesday's the big day, the big media availability where every player is going to talk. All the media will be addressing these guys, and that should be a very content-rich day. Today we had media availability, and there was a couple things that came out of it. Vogt, you could kind of help me with this, but the things that stood out to me, I'll start with KCP. He said, first of all, he said that when he sees Calvin Booth in the hallway, he thanks him because of how happy he is to be contending for a championship again, and just how much fun he's having on this team because it's an unselfish team. And I asked him, is it more fun than previous stops? And he was like, well, first of all, winning is more fun, and some of his previous stops he wasn't winning. But also just that, this style of basketball with everybody relying on each other. I think KCP is extremely happy with how things turned out. And he even referenced that when the trade went down, it was one of those checks his phone and he was like, thank God, this is he was ready to go. So I thought that was interesting, just the fact that he thanks Calvin Booth when he sees him in the hallway.
Yeah, that seems to be I don't know about the thanking part, but the gratitude itself, I think, is a common shared sentiment in that locker room.
Which is the best. It's the Nuggets, Eric.
I know.
We went through a whole decade where people like Jalen Rose, who I love, he rused the day he was drafted by the Denver Nuggets. It was the worst thing that ever happened to him.
Yeah. And didn't Antonio McDyess
sadly,
make a bit they locked
that
Juwan
was to get
Howard out of the building?
No, that was to get him back. And then when he got here, it was terrible.
And he
hated
refused to come back.
But this team, this final product that was ultimately assembled by Calvin, the finishing touches is one. We've heard Aaron Gordon say it's his favorite team he's ever played on.
Right.
KCP, who's been around, man, and won a title, is actively and vocally grateful to be here. Bruce Brown, Nuggets took a flyer on him when surprisingly teams weren't, and other stars around the league, it sounds like, were out on him, like where he was already playing. The Nuggets took a flyer. Not only that, they said, hey, you come here. We want you to play point guard. We want you to be yourself. Now Bruce Brown is ready to go get a bigger bag than he probably would have, man, than he definitely would have. And so you wonder, is this the kind of thing where, like we started saying in the Tim years, and we can continue saying about Calvin Booth's Nuggets, on the margins, not the stars, but on the margins, are you going to see more guys say there's value, man? There's value in either a quick or a long stop at that organization with Calvin, with Jokic, with these guys.
We saw this happen with the Warriors, you see this happen anytime there's success, and there are then guys that have bounced around the league or been in the league for a long time and never got quite the opportunity to pick their situation where there was a possibility of a championship. If the Nuggets can pull this off, and frankly, even if they aren't able to, they are in such a position where you would imagine there's some will be ring chasing that the Denver Nuggets benefit from, which is the strangest thing in the world. But there's gonna be guys that that played for the Wolves for lots of years, and they're like, man, I really want to do something here. So yes, it's a whole new era, man. It's these are not your father's Nuggets.
Not your father's Nuggets, indeed. Another thing that came out, the other thing that I thought was most interesting, Michael Porter was asked about his growth as a player this year and how much he's grown. And in hilarious Michael Porter Jr. fashion, Jokic and Porter are the two most honest players on the team. And sometimes, damningly so. But today, he says, I really appreciate when people say that, but I don't think so at all. He said, I got a lot more to my game that still haven't showed you guys. And because of the injuries, basically saying this year was a year. I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth. I'll tell you, my interpretation felt a little bit like he was hurt last year. He was hurt over the summer. He had to come back and just be what he was this year. And he's focused on he talked about there's things I've done this year differently to make sure I make it through a full season and take care of my back and be extra cautious or what have you. But I get the sense that as much as he's all about right now and winning this title, that he really wants to say, guys, I'm just scratching the surface of what I can be, and I can't wait till I get to the point to show you. And I just today hearing him say that, I loved it, because if you do take the long view and think about where do the Nuggets go from here, as good as they are now, the idea that they might have a superstar, the same way Jamal Murray's been a superstar hiding in plain sight, Michael Porter might be another one that we come back a year from now and go, holy hell, this guy's so much better than we thought.
It's his expectations for himself. And that's when he knows better than any of us how talented he is. He knows his own work ethic better than anyone. I think Porter's point is, hey man, this was always my plan, to become a really good NBA player. Right. And there's more to go. Getting better at defense, rebounding, scoring a lot. Things I expected myself to do. 3 back surgeries later I've had to fight. I'm still doing them. The framing of the question is, how proud are you? And I think that's the word he sort of refused to. He understood the sentiment, but he doesn't want to say pride, because what he's proud of there are loftier goals to check for Michael Porter Jr. than the ones he checked. I think the injuries have taken away from the inevitable, which was Porter rounding himself out as a player and becoming a quality. Also,
I've seen that guy shoot, and his shot tree shows that he does not lack confidence. Yeah. So asking a question like that for him is like, all right, let me try to be calm about it. Also, I think that Vogt touched on a few of the parts. I think that he believes he's doing good and he's well, but it's those injuries. He feels if he didn't have those, what would I be? What is my ceiling then? So I am working back to being that guy, but there's still a lot more to me. I'm starting to feel like myself. And also, he's gone a long time, knock on wood, without, that type of injury. So I do think that he's just like, okay, I'm doing well, but I can be doing better. You guys are going to see better.
Yeah. No, you're talking about a guy that very realistically was slated as the potential #1 overall pick when he was coming out of high school. Like, if you watch old MPJ footage, it's like, you can't believe how athletic he is.
Springy, man.
In addition to everything else he's able to do. It really only comes down to health with it. It's the only factor that's holding Michael Porter Jr. back from being an absolute superstar in this league. And, I think that his ceiling has been lowered artificially by just the physical things that he's had to deal with. But it's still much higher than what we've seen. There's so much more for Mike to unlock, and a lot of it we've seen evolve over the second half of this season, and really over the entire season, with just the confidence and more just the confidence in that other players have in him.
Right.
Giving him the ball in high leverage situations, making sure that Michael Malone feels confident having him on the court when there's a defensive possession that has to happen in the late stages of a game, not getting pulled. Like, Michael Porter Jr. is the sneakiest clutch shooter the Denver Nuggets have. He's hit so many goddamn clutch shots. And this is for him, for Jamal, like, I mean, we've already seen it with Jokic. Jokic's coming out party has been loud. It's been loud, and it's been like just full of receipts. And like now it's time for these other guys that, you know, every time we hear about like, oh, Jokic has been doing this all without an all-star. It's like, guys, we just didn't get voted, but we are all-star level players. Like this is a big moment for both of those guys, man.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. All right, let's get to some super chats.
Sickos.
Hey, we haven't had a post-game show in like a month. The people are ready to super chat.
I know.
King Yoke's disciple.
Do we play the funky music for this?
Yeah, we should have played funky music. It's a post-game show.
It was playing in my head. King Yoke's disciple, so excited for the next couple weeks. Let's go Nuggets. Congrats, Vogt. Cheers.
Oh, man. Everybody hit
go.
that like button for us
King
as we wrap
Yoke
up the show. We
disciple.
appreciate you being here.
Yes.
Grow this show. I'm telling you, every week, hit the alert
Yeah,
button.
man.
Really help us out. It's obviously a big week for us.
I know,
And when I
like-
say us, I mean the royal us.
Yeah, dude. Like we like the Nuggets, but we like us more. You know what I mean? We're in it for us.
Sheb and Kellen, the final leg in Nuggets Revenge Tour. Give Pat Riley that L on the way out. Do it for Fat, English, Cooper, Evans, TR Dunn,
go.
and Dougie Moe. All
Let's
DNVR
go.
is good.
Let's
All
go.
Nuggets are good. Jokic is NSFW.
You know what? I'll play
Let's
that note. I'm with it. Also, you know, game 82, Jimmy Butler was there.
Yep. That's it. We figured that out the other day. That is the revenge angle. Jimmy Butler.
like the Pat Riley
beat
angle
us
too, though. I think it's cool.
Well, we didn't have a direct line to Pat Riley, do we?
I'm just saying he coaching the Lakers, you know. So
Yeah, but like Jimmy beat us. It's time for us to beat Jimmy
I
back.
see. All right.
The boy's dad cutting a trip short to be in the arena on Thursday, and United didn't charge me a penny to change the reservation. Let's go.
I
Dub, dub, dub,
love that he cut a family vacation short. Like, boop,
Yeah.
come
Love
back.
that.
Pack your shit up, kids.
We're going.
You're like
Out of the pool. Let's go. We're going.
Disneyland's not fun anyway.
That's awesome.
Hey, I would have done the same thing. Are you kidding
Dream
me?
Creation Media.
Met her earlier.
It was great meeting you guys
Yep.
today. Love our shirts. Carol
Man.
and Ian.
Let's
A first
go.
teamer, man. An absolute first teamer. Came
True.
into the bar. Like, you can always tell the people that they're like, no, man, that's a first teamer right there.
Absolutely.
I'm
Love
excited
meeting
to
you.
see a lot of first teamers like over the next couple of weeks.
If you're flying in, let us know. Like, shoot me personally a DM if you're coming in, because we got to plan out this weekend. You know, we might end up doing something
Yeah.
Saturday at the bar, or Saturday night, like a meetup.
Something.
If people are flying, if there's enough people flying in that want to kind of do a get together at the bar, we might put that together.
The doctor, the president, the emperor, the king, Gordon.
Oh, Gordon.
Bring him on.
Bring them on.
Let's go.
Astray. It will definitely be a turning point in Malone's coaching career if he's able to outcoach a veteran like Spoelstra. I got faith in Moch. Nuggets in 5.
Let's go.
I think a lot about like who all stocks going up, but I still think Murray is probably number one. Like that guy, pencil him in as an all-star next year.
Bro,
Pencil him in.
I think it's Jokic.
It is
Wild.
Jokic, actually. Yeah, yeah.
That's the craziest
Is the
thing.
consensus best player alive right
Like,
now.
yeah, before he went from like tubby white guy,
It's fair.
guy that you were racist to vote for,
Right,
to
right.
to guys making videos apologizing to Nikola Jokic. That's
Oh
where
my
we're
God!
at.
Did you talking about the Philly guy?
Yeah, man. There's more than that, but yes,
man, that
it's.
was-
I mean,
Shout out that
listen,
guy
like,
for
Shout out that guy,
Shout out
man.
that guy.
that's what I'm
Honestly.
saying. Like,
Yeah.
this is the Jokic is
Hat tip.
so.
I mean, I started writing mine for Tatum.
Yeah, man.
But it's still in the draft, baby. Walter Worthy, super sticker, Joker and Durag with Sig behind ear and one hanging off the lip. The Heat don't want this smoke.
Let's go.
All right, there you go. I'm not excited for that to be a story.
Zako Pavlovich. Crazy Pavlovich brothers coming from Calgary to
Oh my
DNVR Bar
God.
on Sunday.
Let's go.
that
You
sounds
better
like
get
a-
here early. Don't
drink
fly that
Rocky
far.
together.
The people flying
That
in
sounds like
to
a
go
threat, by the way.
specifically to the DNVR bar, just get here 3-4
Man,
hours
this-
early. Order food.
This place is going to be a disaster.
This place is going to be an absolute
Well,
disaster.
apparently all of
a
Australia
beautiful
is-
disaster.
Yeah, but like I don't know. Did you mention it earlier?
I
how
haven't
we're
mentioned.
doing
Go
it?
for it.
The way that it's going to go down this week, because this is obviously the biggest week in Denver Nuggets history and one of the biggest weeks in DNVR
No,
Bar
it's going to
history.
be the biggest week in DNVR history.
Well, I mean, we had an Avalanche championship. I don't want to, whatever. We're gonna have some new policies in place. We are gonna be charging a cover unless you're a diehard.
No cover for the
no
diehards.
cover. No cover.
No covers
Just
for the
become a
diehard.
Flash that card.
This is a good
Is it
time
10
to
what was it,
become
10
a
bucks?
diehard. If you become a diehard, you also get a free T-shirt. Another great opportunity to do so. But yes, So make sure that you factor that into your plans. We do have to like figure out how to make this work because there are a lot of people that are going to be descending on Denver, Colorado.
And I believe also for the few tables that you can get, if you do get here, there is a table minimum. It's not much. I think it's $30 for a person, which is basically like buying dinner and say one drink. But the reason is, of course, that we did have some people come in, get a table, sit for 6 straight hours, not order anything. It's like, hey, come on, guys.
But the other thing is,
people are working the bar. That they depend. This is their literal job and livelihood. Like we want to make sure that they're taken care of.
The other thing is like if you do come in, the cover I think is $10. You do get a free Breck brew with it, so it's kind of washes out.
Yeah. Again,
especially if you're a diehard, just be a diehard. Don't worry about it.
Then you get a free Breck brew.
We try to do little things like that too, so that diehard membership. You know, you're getting everything you're paying for, everything you're hoping, not just the content, but you're in the club. That means skipping out on stuff like that. One more super chat before we hit it.
You guys, look at this, man. Byron, a throwback.
Byron,
back in the chat.
Just to say his own name.
Just to say his own name. We missed you, man.
Well,
glad to have you back for the finals, baby.
With Stanley, before we hit it, guys, a personal super chat for me back to one of you. Laking Ball, I saw you with us in the chat. I know you don't have a super chat today. I can't blame you. It'd be effing insane for you to spend money to be sad. I just want to say, I tip my hat to you. You've been a true homie, the least insufferable Celtics fan I've ever encountered. Stick with us for the Nuggets. Thanks for being a good sport. Stanley Sullivan checking in. My rec for avoiding 2 hours of super chats when the finals start is to set a minimum dollar amount that you will read on the show, $20 or $50. We might have to do that.
Yeah, we're going
to have to.
But we appreciate every last one of them. That's the thing. And the regular chatters too. Even those of you that just watch at home without chatting. And of course, we wouldn't end a Celtics post-game show without Laking Ball checking in. Damn, forced to Game 7 just to lose at home. Tatum turned ankle was bad, but no excuses. Thanks for Vogt. Love the rivalry between me and you. You won, all love, so I can hop on the bandwagon now. Let's go!
It was the final thing we needed. Laking Ball fully on board.
You have to change your behavior. Now you have to tune into this show. You know what? It's the same.
You're
already part of this. You didn't realize.
Trust me.
Everybody, it's been such a fun road to get to this point. The finals are finally set.
Not over yet, baby.
Purgatory.
Not over yet. Not over yet. Job not done.
Job not done. 4 more wins. We're going to be back tomorrow. Hit that like button on the way out.
Let's go.